You know what, chat? I didn't even watch the whole Joe Rogan thing. I kind of want to watch it now, dude. Where's the skill he talks about video games?
Greetings from Quebec. Thank you for your efforts in creating content. You are. Love you X and chat so much. You guys have made me so much more happier. XQCL.
He's a 5 now, super fun. Thanks for your effort creating content. You're super cool, unique, sure. Thanks, man.
The Joe Rogan experience.
I found, I don't know if you agree with this, there were a ton of kids along the way growing up as I was building my business that would say, oh, I'm not into this, I'm not into that, kind of like you described yourself.
Yeah.
And they don't do anything because they're looking for that thing. And I would argue, do something. Do fucking something until you find that thing.
I've never been that kid, though. I've always been into things. I was into art, or I was into something. I always found things that I was interested in, just none of them seemed like they were normal things that other people wanted to do for a living, like the path, like a career path. But I think that there's a lot of people that don't have any, there's no one, they're not modeling.
Wait a minute. I don't think I agree with that.
I always found things that I was interested in, just nothing into things. I was into art, or I was into something. I always found things that I was interested in, just none of them seemed like they were normal things that other people wanted to do for a living.
I agree with this 100%.
Like a career path. But I think that there's a lot of people that don't have any, there's no one.
God, it means that I see that I see this as like the purest way or whatever. I've always felt that way. I meant like that's like it's like if I skateboard all the time and I love like seeing it, but I never even had the thought that, oh dude, I'm making a career or something. That only came like way later on. I just did it because I wanted to, whatever. It just came from like passion or something. I didn't see it as something else. I found it interesting because I was interested, but it has nothing to do with the career or the path behind it. Well, that came with
they're not modeling their life after someone that they see that they admire, someone that's successful, someone that is doing something that they enjoy and love. Sometimes kids have to see that, and if their parents are living a bullshit life and their neighbors live in a bullshit life and most of their family lives a bullshit life, they just fucking lay around, you know, and then they seek refuge in drugs or video games or something that stimulates them.
That's true.
And video games are a real problem.
Chat, is there like scientific stuff behind the fact that this is very real for part of the majority, but there's also this other path like, holy shit, I don't want to be that. Like, look at these motherfuckers, man. I'm not going to sit on my entire life like these complete degenerate cucks. Is that another like thing that
they're a real problem? You know why? Because they're fucking fun.
Addictive.
And you don't. Yeah. Well, I have a real problem with them.
Hold up.
Something that stimulates them. And video games are a real problem. They're a real problem. You know why? Because they're fucking fun.
Addictive.
And you don't. Yeah. Well, I have a real problem with them. And you do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Right.
It's like you could do like martial arts, right? You could learn jiu-jitsu. You get obsessed by jiu-jitsu, and then 3 years later, you're like an elite jiu-jitsu athlete. You're entering in competitions. You're a purple belt.
You're moving up.
Yeah, you're doing well. Right. You're thinking like, I might be able to open my own school one day.
You got confidence.
Yeah, if I have 100 students. And
okay, I'm gonna stop it right there. Okay, up to this point, every point that was currently made can be directly applied and emulated through gaming. So far, I don't remember, I don't know what he says next, but you can say, oh, after a lot of time that I put into gaming, I can enter tournaments, I can go to LANs, I can travel to compete, I can win prize pools. And then he says, open a school, I can make tutorial videos, or I can make a coaching sessions online where there's a decent amount of people that pay to get coached in certain games if you have a certain amount of skill. And if you're that top percentile players, people want that. There's a demand for that, and that works in both fields equally so far.
Those 100 students are paying me X amount of dollars per month. I can make a living. Holy shit, I can have this would be amazing. And then you see your jiu-jitsu school, and your jiu-jitsu instructor has all these students and drives a Mercedes, and he's got a nice family, and like, that's the future. This way, you're doing something exciting and fun, and you don't. Or you could just be playing fucking video games. 3 years later, you could be that same kid just playing video games, waiting for the next whatever the fuck game is, you know, next Xbox game to come out, and you're gonna waste your time.
You have children. I have children.
I have to rewind it.
It's a big battle.
Guys, it's a lot for me to unpack.
The next video games. I mean, like, that's the future. This way, you're doing something exciting and fun, and you don't. Or you could just be playing fucking video games. 3 years later, you could be that same kid just playing video games, waiting for the next whatever the fuck game is, next Xbox game to come out, and you're gonna waste your time.
You have.
Okay, chat. Listen, this is not coming from a bias point of view. I'm actually taking a full backwards on this, and I'm trying to see this from a perspective. This is a difficult take. Because if you approach gaming casually and you see it as playing, you can sort of see it the same with his jiu-jitsu thing. A lot of people, even though they'll do it a lot and they'll go to the practice and they'll go to the training and they'll show up every day, dude, they're not going to be the top master fucking purple belt motherfucker, like insane octagon warrior. They're just not. They're just they have a casual approach. Just like there's a casual approach to everything. They're not gonna be the best. It's just not meant to be because of the way they approach it, the way they do it, or other limitations. But it doesn't matter. The same way people approach games. Yeah, games are addicting. That's an entire problem on its own. That is completely unrelated to comparing it to real sports. You can't do it. You know, you're saying it's an example. Okay, it's a bad example. The problem with video games isn't what he's talking about. If you're gonna use addiction as a problem or whatever, you can't use that as an example. It's just not a good one.
Children. I have children, and it's a big battle in the house.
Yes.
And my kids, I don't know if you're going through
that. Guys, here's you know what? Since we're gonna play this game, I'm gonna give you my example. What about that kid that's playing basketball all fucking time, all fucking day? He goes to high school, preschool, whatever, and after school he plays the basketball, and he hangs out at the basketball field the entire fucking day and shoots hoops, and he's not good at it. And he puts a lot of time, research on it. Even if you take whatever approach, and he's not gonna make it. He's not a pro player. And all these guys go to school, go to Harvard, go to whatever. They get degrees, and this fucker is still he's still on the court shooting hoops, not making anything. That's the exact same thing from playing video games all day, not going anywhere with it. It's a one-to-one example.
And my kids, I don't know if you're going through this, but my kids are now saying.
Okay, and then there's another topic. People will say exercise. That's good. I love that you guys brought that up. That is I think, the only validity or the only point they discussed with this take. With this take, here's what happens. I was blessed as a kid that I did skateboarding. Why? Because skateboarding is like, for me anyway, you have to learn how a lot of things work with like the body, the mechanics. Like there's a decent level of depth to it, right? I'm gonna time you out, dude. I don't like being fucking interrupted when I'm. Come on, man. Right, like you might not see it that way because you think it's skateboarding sucks, but there's a decent amount of depth that goes into knowing, saying the movements and how things how they're gonna act, predicting it. There's a good amount, right? So later on, learning other sports and doing other shit later was very easy. Me and my brother could pick up anything, and our teacher at school was always very impressed, whatever, like in physical education, because we were just kind of just easy to pick up, right? Because we need the movements, and that's applicable, right? And the problem about that with gaming is that it's not applicable. Yes, it might stimulate some sort of development in your brain when you're younger, and yes, you might get to places because you went through video games that challenge your mind. But here's what I think. Let's say I make a tree, right, of all the possible skills that a human can have. Let's just say, right, just try to be with me here, chat. Right, there's all things that you can be good at. All these little wings, right? Let's say, right. These are like core skills. Like, I don't know, I'm good with my hands, and I can make I'm good with my hands. Then you can do like woodworking, can do this, can do that, and from that you have this and that and this and that and more learning, more things, more whatever, all these things. And when it comes down to sports, right? Like and you guys said exercise, which is his argument. exercise and being outside and doing those things like jiu-jitsu, it's kind of like it's an early branch, right? And it does open and make you better and evolve you in a lot of things that are going to come next, because it's an early branch in this example. But the problem with gaming, I think, is that it's kind of like this, right? And like that, and like this, and like that, and like this, and like that, and it goes way. And gaming is kind of like that, and you become really good at it, and you min-max the fuck out of it, and you become a really like a hardcore god at this. But this, it's just, it doesn't, the amount of complete absolute options that stem from this isn't that much, and you really min-max that one part, right? When these things, they kind of open a lot more, right? A lot of these skills and stuff, they just don't translate. Even though career-wise, there might be a lot of options, and in terms of top 1% of gaming can lead to this, that. Yeah, you're right. In terms of professionally, you're right. It probably is somewhat the same between real sports and gaming. There's a good equivalent. But when it comes to actually learning and developing, not really. Yeah, you might learn how to communicate, what are the things you get from gaming? Interacting with others, reading their mentality, their psychology. Maybe you learn how to be precise with your mouse. Like, there's a couple things, but it's not like anything too wide. That's the problem with it.
Saying, well, Dad, this guy made all this money with this video game.
That's real too. That's
right?
real too now.
So like, that's 1 in a billion, kid. Like,
I don't know if it's 1 in a billion, but you know.
Wait,
look,
what is he gonna say?
Game that
that's real too. That's
right?
real too now.
So now saying, well, Dad, this guy made all this money with this video game.
That's real too. That's real too now.
So like, that's 1 in a billion, kid. Like,
I don't know if it's 1 in a billion, but
it's really not.
You know, look, I heard the same argument about comedy. My own parents were like, do you know how few people make it as a comedian? I was like, okay, does anybody make it? Somebody makes it, right? They figure out how to do it. They make a living. I'm going to do that. Yeah. Just stop. Look, I know what I'm doing. I was real lucky that my parents were not around very much, so I didn't get much advice. So I figured it out myself. So there was no one telling me I couldn't do it.
Got it.
So
green fields.
I was like, I'm gonna find my way through this. And
I know
since
what
no one's
gonna
telling
say.
me it's impossible. No one's telling me I can't. Occasionally, I would hear someone say, "What are the odds?" I'm like, "Listen, to this fucking loser." That's my thought. Was always like, that guy's a loser. Like, if you think like that, you're a loser. But there are kids that make a lot of fucking money playing video games. But the thing is, like, you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to play multiple video games, because the one video game that you get really good at, what are the odds that's going to be around 5 years from now?
Right.
You know, like, what's the big one now? Like Fortnite? Is that? Do they make money off of that? Yeah. Yeah. And then there's Call of Duty. They make money off that. What's the big money? StarCraft used to be the big one, right?
That, League of Legends, Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike is it's still the Half-Life mod?
No.
Yeah, variation.
You know what? I actually don't even agree with that either. Guys, I'm going to go against giving here, dude, and actually say no here, dude. COD, I don't think there has been an actual way or circuit without being a streamer or YouTuber to make a decent, stable living off the actual game. With other CODs, yeah. But currently with it, right now, with the... Oh, you mean overall. Overall, yeah, right. Fuck, I'm dumb.
The same exact game.
They don't make money
I
off
thought you meant the new one.
right? Not really.
Nah, really.
No.
A couple, one or two guys do.
Yeah, overall.
Yeah,
makes
see,
sense.
it's you got to pick the right game. You know, you could be
And what are you
obsessed
gonna
with
do?
the
What
wrong
are you gonna do? You're
game.
gonna spend 5-10 hours a day in the
You
house.
have to.
Right.
You would have to.
Okay. Wait, what else did he say?
Game.
They don't make money off Quake, though, right? Not really.
Nah.
No.
Thanks, Faggy says I'm talking about things another times I never saw, dude. Guys, there's a lot to unpack here. I don't think people want to hear me rant about all this shit.
You know, like, what's the big one now? Like Fortnite? Is that? Do they make
Fortnite.
money off of that? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The big point, I think, is how we're gonna okay. The biggest problem isn't that people are gonna try to do it and they're gonna fail and they're gonna get fucked up. The problem is that people are trying gradually to make it something that they can do without putting it all on the line, like real sports, right? So if you go like through like normal school, right, and then you enter high school, right? Now there's gonna be like more programs. I think we'll see how that goes. I'm a big advocate for it. I'm a big advocate for it, right? Because it's whatever. Because why be against it? It's a good thing for gaming. But now there's like, you know, like high school like leagues or whatever, or like that, like high school like circuits or something like that, right? And then there's like college. Let me put some music on. Sorry about that. Right, now there's like circuits that people can do, so they can play games and study at the same time and go through the whole process. Right? Has that really done like a crazy amount of did a lot of big people stem from that and actual now pro gamers from like these circuits? Not a crazy amount to the ratio of the ones of real sports. No, probably not right now, since they're kind of like building those infrastructures or whatever. But I think what they want to do with gaming overall is it make it so if somebody decides that's what he wants to do, that the programs are there and they can do it without like risking the schooling entirely. And I think that's where like things become a problem, when everybody, like actually millions, fuck their schooling up because they think they're gonna be pro, right? With no infrastructure. Like there's nothing there's nothing to support it or make it stand, right? So you're kind of like you know, when it comes down to real sports, you know, you have like the college, like what is it? You know, when they help you fund it or something like that. What is it called? Yeah, like your high school circuits, right? Yeah, and then you get like your scholarship, and then you get like your medium league, and then you get like the final big, like the big NBA or whatever, right? And that's like kind of supported as a thing. But the problem with gaming is it's kind of like this, right? And it's really wobbly. You're kind of like on a limb the whole time. And if that fails, it's like, and you fall all the way to fucking zero. Like, not like a little bit, like an actual fucking cookie. Like an actual round shaped fucking zero, right? Which is what I think that this is a little bit about. That's kind of the problem. That's kind of where I would be right now, dude. The big cookie zero. Yeah, there's no checkpoints. You're saying there's no checkpoints, exactly. There's literally no checkpoints in gaming right now. And it's becoming a little bit better. But I think it'll take a... This is trash. I think it'll take you guys more than a decade until it's like more like this shape than that. And I have certain negative reservations that I have about esports, but I don't want to vocalize that on stream and say those things because I don't want to like ruin good things or like discourage people, whatever. Because I feel like gaming sometimes it's a little blown out of proportion. Some of it is a bubble. Some of the esports are I'm kind of like, yeah, that's not gonna pan out. Like that's, dude, like that's not, you know, I'm not an investor, but this is not gonna pan out. But it's an incentive. It's an attempt. It's gonna get there. Does that make sense, chat? It's a process. It's a process. And yeah, I'm gonna ban this guy as well. This guy says move on. Yeah, this guy's the guy from last time. I'm banning you. Peace out. Let me make this a little bigger. Alright, yeah. Yeah, I promoted him to took it. Right. Yeah, what else? What else? But it's why I didn't agree with his example, because he's right. But out of any example you could have taken, he took jujitsu. And I don't think there's a crazy amount of pathways and checkpoints for jujitsu. There just isn't. Like, yeah, there's a couple checkpoints, whatever. Not that many. And if you decide to go all in with it and you fall, you do fall on your ass all the way down. What if you're not good enough, or the worries are sort of the same. So I don't think I agree entirely about it. What about music, chess? See, those are like hobbies though. Those are hobbies. Chess is very well supported. Guys, am I wrong in saying that chess has an infrastructure that's decent? It has a decent infrastructure. I'm pretty sure you can find tournaments and social circles and things that you can compete in all the way through elementary school to college. It doesn't pay money, I'm sure, directly or big with, unless you're like a top player, but I think it opens a decent amount of pathways. And I don't think people quit everything that they stand for to play only chess. I think that's kind of rare. I think that's very well integratable on the fly. I think chess is more like an integrated thing. Yeah. That was more insight. That is insightful. Thanks, man. Hold up.